Hi everyone. It hasn't been that long, I know, but we already have news for you. We are back already with a new episode of the Top Drive Show. We're going to get straight in with some questions and save the PL8 talk for in a few minutes, but don't worry, you should know the rules by now. Go into the comment section and leave a question. If you see a question someone else has made, give it a like if you want to get it answered, because we looked at the most liked comments first. We're going to go right here. We've got the most liked comment from Mateus Dzura. So well done to you again. You get a carbon fiber pack for asking. Can we get some more obscure manufacturers? I'd love to get, for example, Pontiac, Saab, Saturn, Everso, Daewoo, AMC. It'd be really nice to see some older manufacturers, something maybe that's gone extinct that people may not have heard about. Keep the memory going. Also, more dogs, please.
Okay.
Dogs. Yep.
So no dogs today. But
yep. Sorry.
But I think we can. I guess a couple of parts to that answer. So one is that there's I think PL8 will be bringing at least a couple of those mentioned manufacturers. So I think that's quite exciting.
Whoa.
And also, I guess just generally, we'd agree. I think when we were kind of putting together the game originally, and I think the first sort of majority of updates have been focused around sort of single manufacturers that have been missing from the game. But actually, as we're now starting to kind of move forward into the next series of updates, I think people will start to see there's definitely new manufacturers, but also looking at or sort of new big manufacturers, but also looking at some of the lesser well-known ones from the different territories and kind of countries that we're theming things around.
Yeah.
So I think definitely something to look out for in the future. Actually, my dad was he just loved Saabs. So I grew up with about 14 Saabs in a row or something like that. So I would like to see Saabs in the game. And then there's some really specialist stuff, like sort of Monteverdi and Venturi and some of these sort of companies that would, have made only a handful of cars, but some very cool ones. So it's definitely that is happening. It's not even on the list. It is actually happening.
Well, and things that have gone extinct, like they're not in business anymore. There's still ways to do that. Sometimes,
right? It complicates.
Yeah,
it can complicate things a little bit. But we've got our crack team on sorting that out, and it's not too bad. I mean, generally, what we'll sort of aim to kind of approach. I don't know, maybe for any kind of territory, we might aim for kind of 5 or 6 of the more specialist manufacturers, and maybe 2 or 3 of them come good. So it's not a it's not a complete hit rate, but we'll it's definitely more of those are going to be appearing.
Great. So well done, Mateus. You get a carbon fiber pack, and we've also got 2 carbon fiber packs going out here because 2 people asked a very similar question, and they both got a lot of upvotes. So well done to both Android Fanatic and Endofailer, who both individually asked, one thing that I think Top Drives is missing is a lot of in-depth statistics, how much gold or cash you've earned overall, perhaps your win rate, or what your favourite car is, like, which thing you pick most often. It would be really nice to have it in the game. And that sounds completely reasonable. Sounds like a quality of life feature. Yeah,
it's one of these features that sort of, I guess, maybe slightly frustratingly was sort of wanted and almost kind of specced out, really early in development. But it just through various reasons, it's one of those things that kind of falls down the priority list a little bit. But I think it feels like Top Drives really suits it. Like, it would be great. I think there's some really interesting ways that we can give you stats on your garage and on your collection and on the way you play the game.
Yeah, and there's already this bit, right? You turn over a card, you can see how many times you've used it and the win rate, but you have to check every card individually.
Yes.
I was thinking I'm gonna do an audit. I think I've got over 400 cars now, so it's going to take a while. But I just want to be able to put all that in one place and go, just how many? Which one is the one I've used the most? Which one do I use the most and has a terrible win rate? And maybe I shouldn't use it that much.
Yeah.
I kind of have to do that manually. It would be nice if you could somehow have that surface. Like we're talking about the filtering and the sorting. You could sort by win rate or something, and that's conceivable. but then also this idea of a profile page that you could possibly even share with other people and go, this is me, this is everything.
I think that's actually a big part of it. It's going to be interesting for people to have a look at their own profiles and own data, but actually it's a relatively straightforward next step to, once you've got that, is to let people tap on any other player that either kind of share it directly, or any player in a multiplayer event. Let people kind of bring that up and actually look at your art.
Because I've enjoyed it in other games.
Yes.
Especially right near the beginning of the game, I just go straight to the person at the top and just look at their stuff and go, what does it look like at the top there? Ooh. You know, it's quite nice.
Definitely, very valuable feature. I know there's kind of an appetite on the team to bring that in at some point. I'm not sure when exactly.
And the next question, speaking of another thing that we'd really like to have one day, thanks to Porsche Guy for your question, could we ever have a PC version of Top Drives? I know it's not just a few clicks of a button to move the game to another platform, but the amount of possibilities for PC is insane. They want the higher detail car models, higher quality car sounds, high quality maps, more room for expansion, mods. They want mods as well.
That's definitely not just a click of a button.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
A lot of clicks now.
Yeah. I mean, it would be amazing. But that's not the only criteria that exists
just
for deciding.
Back from lunch, just lunch with somebody from the team, and we were just chatting about that very thing. Really, it's just I'm still surprised. So I get the the tube to and from work, and actually, obviously, kind of lots and lots of people on mobile playing games. But actually, I see quite a few people on their work laptops just sitting playing generally strategy games, kind of on their way home, and it's. I was actually, I was going to bring it up with somebody this very afternoon, and just raise it as another discussion. It's that.
I mean, there is this caveat to it. Last time we discussed it anyway, that there is an overhead of a certain amount every time you add a platform, and we already had this, right? As well as being on iOS and Android, we're also on the Amazon sort of version of Android, because you can reach fewer people that way. But every time you put out a release, that's another version you have to make, and it's another version you have to get published somehow, and they all have different processes for getting published, and there's different ways it can get snagged somehow, and we have to sort of do simultaneous releases. We have to have everybody on the same thing, so the more platforms you're on, the more complicated that gets. So there is this bit of an overhead. It just makes everything you do from the future more complicated. I think I don't know, in my head that's the main reason why we don't just go, let's just go on.
Well, it's a definite concern, and in the sense that we want to kind of iOS and Android are the big platforms where kind of majority of the players are, and we need to make sure that we're not doing something that's going to kind of make it harder or more time consuming to get content out in the future.
Absolutely.
But it's like I say, it is being talked about almost as we speak.
Okay, right. Let's move on. We've got a question from Lee Care Jean. I think I saw this one last time, and I'm afraid that we didn't get to it. They're asking, is it possible to change the MRA curve of cars that have limiters on them so that they're able to hit their top speeds on the test bowl? Is it possible?
Right.
Probably. Is it easy? Probably not.
Speed limited cars. I keep saying cars. Is they are a challenge in some way. So I think what's tricky about them is that basically the information is not readily available for a car that's kind of speed limited in terms of what its actual speed would be, and that causes certain complications with
deriving the actual curve. Unless you can explicitly get a time to top speed, I guess. And you're all right there.
So it is. I mean, there's a little bit of it built in. I know with some of the kind of extreme speed limiters. So there's I think the Raptor, and I think even the 6x6 Mercedes. There's a few extreme cases where there's cars that are just capped, sort of really quite far below what their real speed would be, and those are adjusted sort of as and when they come up, to make sure that they're hitting those speeds much faster than if it was their actual top speed. So I know it's not ideal, but it's probably another one of these areas that if people are aware, that if players are aware of a particular car that that should be adjusted because it's speed limited and it's taking too long to hit its top speed. I mean, I just think
if you can cite a source that says this is how long it should take, or this is what it could be.
or even if it is just a case of this guy just doesn't. It just doesn't seem to be performing kind of right. Obviously, I don't want to be bombarded with stuff.
I've seen a lot of those.
Okay, yes, no, some sort of validation would be good.
Yeah.
But it's it's something that I keep saying this, but there's an ongoing process of car tweaking and making things more accurate, and that can be part of this.
There's a related question as well, which comes from Plant. And I think I've seen a couple of different instances of this question, particularly surrounding the Furai, saying, how do we determine MRA for those ultra scarce car that may only have like one or even none of them in the world, like the Aerovet, the Furai, the Cerberus Speed 12?
So I mean, they're not trying to shift responsibility, but we do. We're kind of partnered with Evo magazine and the team there, and they have their database and access to a variety of other sources. And we at the end of the day we do rely on them for the majority.
If somebody
of data.
was going to have to take a guess as to what it might be for one of these cars, they would be some good people to ask.
And I think
know.
I think they can bring in power figures, torque figures are well known. I mean, right down kind of weight is obviously kind of a massive part, even down to kind of tire width and things like
absolutely.
that, and kind of drive type is going to give them a reasonable indication of where something should be. So with the one-off cars or where there's almost like no running example, that there's going to be it's going to be hard for anyone to say this is exactly what it'll do. But we feel happy that the team at Evo are like you say, they're pretty much some of the most qualified people in the world to be producing those stats.
Of course, what that means is that for a lot of these cars, and in fact almost every car in the game, that the stats that we use will differ from the manufacturer figures. I mean, for instance, the nameplate capacity of most cars is generally, from the manufacturer, what they say it is generally not what we find in real life because of extraneous conditions. Everything is very variable. Physics does that, and so that's where we get all of our information from. Okay, so I think we're going to. There's only one more question I want to address this time around because we're in a bit of a hurry, and it's from Dida Big, who asks, will the next Top Drive show, that's this one, will it be an update release party? And if so, can Ishka have a party hat? So I'm afraid Ishka's not here today. She's actually on holiday, so maybe we'll get some holiday snaps. Unlikely, but Ishka went off to celebrate PL8 a little early, and we're going to celebrate it now.
Are we?
Yes.
I think we are, aren't we? We're going to talk about some of it, aren't we?
Yeah. It's definitely. It's not party hat time this very moment, but
okay.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, all right. Well, then we're going to talk about that. So before we go on, I'd just like to point out, thank you so much, everybody, for your amazing support this time around. The last episode hasn't even been out a week yet at the time of recording, but it's already amassed 6,000 views, which is fantastic. And we got over 300 comments and 200 plus likes. I theorised that it was because we had a dog. But it could also be because of PL8. And we've got some more things to talk about with PL8 right now. We've just got through a nice tasty document which tells us all about the new feature, clubs.
So it's quite involved, and we've sort of shown that little image of a map. And immediately people are like, what does that mean? Is that how does that work? And won't this happen? So it's time to cover a little bit of that as we build up to it actually coming out.
There's been a lot of theorising on the forums.
So, right, let's go. Let's take it from the top. There will be 3 clubs, and you will join one of them. Okay, each one sort of taking after in some way a car culture represented in the world. Somewhere. So what are the 3?
So the 3 are, in terms of the cars that maybe people might resonate with, is Dodge Challenger. It's going to be one. The kind of the big
red
muscle car. Yeah, kind of big, heavy duty muscle car,
Yeah.
good in the straight line type thing. Second one is Nissan GTR.
Right.
So that kind of high-tech Japanese kind of tuning culture.
Yeah, that's the blue, I think. Yeah.
And the third one that you might resonate with is Porsche 911 GT3. So the kind of pure European track-based engineering approach.
Yeah.
And so we just And so we just thought, kind of for us, that kind of everyone on the team, everyone in the studio, sort of almost falls into one of those camps in terms of just where you would naturally go car-wise. And so we're excited to see how they fill up.
And people did ask about balancing and how that's going to work. To some extent, by having 3 clubs, you actually can manage, I think, without it being perfectly balanced, because if one is doing too well, the other 2 can sort of work together against them. So there can be some balance in that way. But I think we're thinking about rolling out access to the clubs and potentially closing one club and saying, oh no, that one's already got too many people in it or something for a period of time. Something like this as a way to sort of balance it as we roll it out. Yeah. We're going to judge how that goes as we do it, so we can't say exactly what's going to happen.
It's going to be pretty gradual.
But yeah, balance is on our mind as well, definitely. All right, so then you'll be in one of the 3 clubs, and then the whole map thing comes in. So you compete over the territory, the idea being to hold the most as a club by the end of the whole season, which I think should be about a week. And what will happen is, to take any individual bit of territory, you have to enter the event there, and as a club do better in it than the club that you're fighting against. So it will be if you can see a territory that's on the border and there isn't an event there yet, you'll be able to start one and go, right, let's kick something off here, and then you will be able to enter, and so all the other people from your club and all the people defending from that club will come and play against you, and then whoever wins at the end of it will take the territory, and then things will carry on from there. So that much you could possibly have guessed from just looking at the map and how it would work.
Yep.
A few other things to note. So one is there's a strategic element about which territory you take. So you could, for example, cut off a bit of territory, and each club has a sort of HQ where it sort of starts from. But if there's any territory that is cut off from that, nobody in that club can start or even join events in those cut off bits of territory. So the others can just.
It's definitely been an interesting aspect in the kind of playtest that we've all been doing. It's kind of the when there's the opportunity, and there's a single event that's the final one in terms of cutting off a big bit of territory. It gets ultra competitive at that point.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so that's fun. And you'll only be able to enter one event at a time. So that's going to be an element to it, picking which territory you're going to join the fight for.
But the events are they're really quick fire, aren't they?
Yes, that's right. So we're not definitely certain exactly how short they will be, but the idea is it's a matter of hours.
Yeah.
A lot shorter than regular events are. So that means you'll be able to do something for a bit and then come back a bit later and do a different one, or keep working on that one, depending how it goes.
I mean, I think just on that, I think that's one of the most sort of exciting things for us, kind of playing it at the moment, is just that idea that kind of every time you come back to it, the map's changed a bit.
Yeah.
There's new events kicking off. There's the territory shifted, the border shifted, and it's great fun, kind of coming back in and seeing what's happened to it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the other question you might wonder is, like, how are these events defined? Because currently we go, right, here's today's new event. It's a rare event with an RQ limit of this and so on, and now there's going to be all these lots of little events. Like, how's that going to work? The way it's going to work is sort of semi-automatic. So each day, all the events that day will come from 3 possible criteria sets. So one criteria set might be like 5 times rare, 2 times US. So there will be some events like that, and then another one might be just 2 times style icon or something. So you'll get some of those. And then there will be 3 possible challenge sets, where each set has like 4 groups of tracks in them, and they'll just get randomly joined to the different criteria, right? So that means there's 9 different possible events that could happen in a way. One for 3 different criteria, 3 different track sets coming together, and then there will be a range of different RQ limits that can be deployed against those. So all the events will be slightly different hands are needed. But there'll be some consistency in the day so that you can go, all right, I can invest in this car because it's going to be useful in multiple events today. And you can pick which event you go into as well. So if you're going for the style icon, you can always pick.
Yeah, you can have a look around and see which events that are live that you're going to be particularly strong in. Can't you?
Yeah. So that'll be the trick there. And then I think there's going to be questions about this when it comes out. So we're going to have to start to cover this. Like, how exactly do you win an event, right, as a club? So I guess the starting point is this idea, I think you mentioned, it's a bit like we used to have right at the very beginning of the game, where instead of, like in a match, you accrue points and the person with the most wins. We originally had it, right, where you sort of started with 1,000 points and every win you got sort of whittled down the opponent's score.
Yes. It's almost like a health bar in a beat 'em up.
Yeah, exactly. Like so we've got that idea at the club level. Your whole club in an event has a sector control score, and we sort of add up everybody's points in the leaderboard and look at the difference between them, and say your club has got 20 more points than the opponent's. That means the opponent's sector control score will start to go down, and if you can extend that lead and have an even bigger point advantage, it will go down even faster. But if they can come back and then they have the advantage, it will stop where it is, and then your score will start going down. And the winning club is the one that erodes their opponent's sector control score down to 0.
Yes.
So, I mean, try to win as much as you can because winning's good. That's sort of obvious. This is quite how that will manifest.
Yeah, and it gives it I think we're feeling like it's very nice kind of dynamic quality kind of while the event's running. I mean, there's in sort of in very simplistic terms, it's like a kind of big tug of war between the two clubs that are battling for that bit of territory, and it's just really nice that it can swing back and forth in the sense of sort of over the duration of the event. It's just all battling to get that score down to 0 and actually win that bit of territory.
Yeah. And just finally, we'll just talk a bit about the rewards. So we mentioned how it's going to work in a different way. There's not going to be tickets. You can race as much as you like, except that, of course, your cars will need servicing at a certain point. So you're only limited by the size of your garage. But to balance that out, we don't give you prize cars for every single race. You'll get prizes at the end of the short event that will be based on how many races you did, your position in the leaderboard, and if your club overall won or lost. So the more you put in, the more you'll get out at the end. And then at the end of the entire season, obviously everyone in your club will get prizes depending on if your club came first, second or third, as you would expect. So yeah, and there's even more to it than that, but I think that's enough for now to talk about. Yeah. I mean, the other thing I was going to say as well is like it's going to be a work in progress. Like if you remember when regular events first came out, you could not even choose an opponent, right? You remember you were just given one person. It's like, no, you've got to beat them now, And there are all sorts of things. That Hutchbots took up positions in the leaderboard, that sometimes knocked people down. What else? Oh, you'd got as many points for losing as you would for winning. So the average point score was 0. And that meant that you could come in very late and just do one race and immediately beat a load of people who had negative points. So then we added a thing where you get more points for a win than you do for a loss. So there's been all these iterations. In the same way, club events are going to go through iteration as we discover what works and what people want out of it.
It feels, I think kind of we're viewing it as it feels like a really, really exciting, really powerful new way of playing top drives and kind of and using your garage, your collection, in the best possible way. But yes, like you say, it's definitely going to be evolve over time. Great to get the kind of feedback and kind of players' comments on it. Yeah,
I think it's a really healthy, like, reimagining of daily events. It's like, this is the thing, you can come every day and do this thing, where daily events currently is like you can come every day and probably not do very well, or do a farming thing where you put in your worst cars and you try to lose, and that's that's not really how the game is supposed to work. This is like, there's an interesting thing going on all the time, every time you come back every day, and you should try to win that, and you will be rewarded accordingly. So yeah,
great.
There you go.
Do we have any other kinds of news? Of course, we've talked about some other things that are due in for PL8, like the new environment.
Yeah, new environment is coming. There's new manufacturers coming, and there are new additions to some existing manufacturers, which I love that the PL8 car list. I have to say I love just looking through it. Really, there's some great additions. I think there's a few new useful off-road cars. That are going to be appearing, and just some exciting new potential additions to your car collections.
Yeah, well, we're going to leave to some other YouTube channels the privilege and excitement of sharing a few of the other things that are coming in terms of which manufacturers exactly. So yeah, look out for those.
And then the developers made a prediction, and it turned out that the forces of the universe conspired for it to never come true. The end.
Wow.
Oh, hi, I didn't hear you come in. Welcome to something that we filmed about 5 days after everything else was recorded. Tim, what's happening?
Yes, PL8.
PL8.
When is it coming out?
When?
A lot of people want to know. And yeah, well, it turns out that the clubs feature is very complicated, as you can probably tell from the fact that in that bit just now it took me like 15 minutes to explain it. So we've done a lot of internal testing, getting different people to play it, and we think actually it's pretty critical that we make it a bit easier to understand for people the first time they play it, so that they don't get immediately put off and just go back to playing regular events all the time. And secondly, the aim is to actually have the clubs thing work across the whole world. So usually we have our US, European and Asian servers, and they're in their own separate universes. We'd like it if we could have everybody together in the clubs events. And also, as you saw from that map, it's based on this very sort of real-time information. So we have realised we need more time to make sure the game can scale as much as it would need to accommodate everybody doing that, and that we can maintain that up-to-date information. So that means it can't come out as soon as we thought it could last week when we filmed that earlier bit.
Yep.
And so what we're going to do is we are going to separate it out. We are going to release 8.0 without the clubs bit in it, but with all the other things, right? Which is 175 new cars, which is the most we've ever added in one update, and takes us to being the world record holder of number of licensed cars in a video game.
Do we need to ring Guinness about that ourselves?
Yes, I'm going to have to get on the phone with them.
Fancy.
So that they'll see that. It's going to have that new mountain environment that you saw. We've got a quality of life feature in that the race time at the end of the race will show on the end screen instead of disappearing, so you have to quickly write it down. That will just come up, or on the high speed bowl it will show you the top speed that you reached. Another quality of life feature which I've seen a lot of people asking for is that in an event, if there are two filters, like 5 times rare, 2 times UK or something, if you select both, it will apply both to your garage rather than applying either this one or that one. Now, in an event which it's like 3 times French, 2 times US, you would maybe want it to do or, because you can't have both. But almost all the time it's an and event that we run. So that is the more useful way for that to work. That's what that is going to do. There will also be a bunch of car corrections, of course. There will be RQ changes, taking into account the fact that the corrections happened, also taking into account the physics fixes that we did with hills. And we will release information about what is going to change ahead of the update, but not just yet. Finally, and most obscurely, there will be some debugging going into the servers just so that we can check what's going on in Asia, because the players over there, they are encountering more errors than everyone else. We're not quite sure why. We're putting in some debugging that will help us get to the bottom of that. So, all that is going to come. And when is that going to be?
When is this version of 8.0?
This version of 8.0 will come out, I'm reading from a prepared statement, will come out by the end of March.
Wow.
Okay, and we'll release the list of corrections and RQ changes ahead of that. and then we'll release this whole crazy clubs thing at some point after that, but it is definitely too soon at this point to say exactly when that is.
Yeah, so we're splitting it into 2 updates, and when Clubs is ready, it will come out as its own individual update.
That's right. But there are a lot of cards coming, and you can see some of them over on Casual Mobile Gaming's channel, and Blossom has some more.
Yep.
But nobody is the whole 175 yet. There's quite a lot.
Okay. Right. So we're very sorry for the long-winded way of getting around that. We recorded the rest of the episode a week ago, and everything seemed really great. But that is the world of game development, and we are going to do our best to be honest with you in that case. We are here telling you that right now. Thank you for enjoying this very rambly version of the Top Drive show with all of its twists and its turns. You know the rules by now. Go into the comments and leave a question. And if you see a comment that someone else has left and you'd like that one to be answered, make sure to give it a like, because we look at the most liked comments first. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for playing Top Drives, and we'll see you next time with the Top Drive show.